everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. It's not Watercolor Live, it is a recorded video, but I am still here with you with a really fun project, a Christmas project. And I want you to know that even though this is recorded, I will be checking the comments, and I will be answering questions if you have any. And also, please let me know if you would like to have this sample, because I also will be giving it away. So even though it's recorded, I will be checking in on here, and I will be answering questions and saying hi to you. So even though I'll miss you on live, I hope you like this project, and I hope you'll give it a try. And tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and God blessings to all of you. Okay, everyone, here we go. This is this week's project. It's a little Christmas scene, and it is from one of our newest releases. So this is the Watercolor Snowman set, and we're going to be using two images from here. This little guy right here, this is the largest one, and then the little sleigh. So those two from 5467 Snowman set. And then we're going to use one of these images from the wooden chair set. Now, I just grabbed this little pot because it just fit in the sleigh, but there are lots of little pots that you can use, and it doesn't necessarily have to be this one. This is the one that I just grabbed, but as long as it's a small enough pot that will fit in there, you could also use a large one and then just mask this off so that you don't see the bottom part. So there are a lot of things that will work in that case. And you know, the other option is to just put the tree in here without the pot. So that's an option too, if you don't have one. Foliage set 4. So we're going to use one of these little vines here, and we're going to use it to create the wreath. So whichever direction you're comfortable going, whether you are comfortable going clockwise or counterclockwise, will determine which one of these little guys that you use. I'm going to be using the one that goes clockwise. So this one right here. And then in the Christmas wreath set, one of these little fir boughs, and I believe it's this one right here, although it could be that one too. So really simple. You could use any greenery. I just grabbed those fir boughs, and that will do the trick. So I like this really simple, clean look. Now you could modify this. You could put something in the background. You could do some snowy banks back here, maybe a little cottage. You could use one of the simple scenes, but I like to do these simple ones too because, well, first of all, they're quick and easy, and it's just a little different look. So there's not a lot of background going on here. It's much cleaner, and I love the light pastel look. So I hope you guys give this one a try. It was super fun to do. So let's get going on it. The first thing that we're going to do is stamp that snowman, and we want him to be pretty light. So we're going to stamp him in two colors. We're going to start out with that dark blue. So this is 565. This is the dark blue that we use on the snowman. I just typically use this one every time. It's just a really great color. It's a cool blue, so more like a purple, and it just gives you that impression that it's snow. So now over the top, we're just going to add the dark brown, the 969, and we're going to add the dark brown only to the areas that are not going to be snow. So they're not going to be white, and that would be the scarf here, the hat. These things are going to have a color, so we're gonna do the dark brown over the top of that, and then we're going to stamp it off. This is just going to be too dark, so we want to be sure and stamp that off. And then we can stamp it onto our watercolor paper. So just like that. Okay, so now let's go on to the next one, and that would be the little sleigh. And we're going to ink this one. We're going to do this one a little bit different. I kind of want it to be more of a blue instead of a gray. And so we're going to start out with the dark brown first, the 969, and we're just going to ink all of this up with that 969. And then I'm going to stamp it off. So before we add the blue to it, we're going to stamp it off. Now we're going to add the blue to it. So now the dark blue, just like, you know, we did with the snowman, two colors, and just ink this up. And now before I stamp it onto my paper, I'm just going to cover the snowman up a little bit because I want to stamp it a little bit behind. I'm going to stamp it off again and get the majority of that blue off. And now I'm just going to stamp it right on here. Okay, And you can see it's a little bluer, so it kind of matches the snowman a little bit. Just gives it a little different look. So you can play around with colors like that. You know, when you are inking your stamp, try different combinations of colors. It really makes a difference whether you ink that stamp with the brown first and then stamp it off, or you ink it with the brown and the blue and then stamp it off. So try that and see the difference that it makes. It's subtle, but you can tell. You can really tell the difference. Okay, so let's start out with our little guy here. I'll start out with the snowman. And I'm just going to get my brush wet. And I'm using my number 4 to start out with. And I'm just going to just pull the color out of the lines. And this is that, you know, that gray tone, because we used the 2 colors. Remember, we stamped off, and then we added we added the brown to the areas that were not snow. So that would be this area here where the scarf is. So we're just pulling that color out of the lines just like that. And then here, we can just bring this color all the way around. It looks, you know, we want it to kind of look like these little snowballs are stacked on top of each other. And we can bring this color, you know, just all the way around. And I'm just going to add a little more blue to my palette so I can get a little more color in here. And just kind of bring that, you know, bring that around. If you think it's too dark, just pinch off your brush and then go back. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to now come in here with my tiny little brush. This is my number 1, and I'm just going to take a little of this blue now and get the side of his little face here, including his little cheek. His little cheeks in here. That will bring that forward and give a little more contour to his face. And then we can just kind of soften it up a little bit here. Just soften it up. You know, if you think that you're getting it a little too dark, just, you know, dip your brush and just soften it up. Okay, so now I'm going to add my twin tone. So my dark brown, I'm going to pop out his eyes a little bit because he doesn't quite have any life to him until we darken his features. So I'm going to start out with his little nose. And of course his little eyes. And you know, we can just add a little bit of his mouth in here too. And this, you know, underneath here where his hat is, that's going to be really dark. So it's okay to put a little dark streak there. And I'm just going to now add some color to these little buttons too. Okay, he's starting to come to life, starting to look more three-dimensional. This is that same brown, that 969, and I'm going to add it to my palette and get some color on this little hat band. Now we're going to see a shadow or a highlight there, you know, kind of right in the middle. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle. It just has to be, you just have to see it. It has to be lighter in the center than on the sides. And I know I sound like a broken record on that because I think I say it every time, but it is so important that the sides of a contour are darker than the center. That's how you get it to look rounded. Okay, so let's add some green on here and we'll get some color onto his little hat. And you can totally change out these colors and make it your own. I tend to be more simplistic when I'm putting things together. Less colors is always better for me. And I love the simple things. Less detail and simpler colors. Now we want to leave a little edge, you know, on this hat. That's really important because, you know, the hat has an edge. You know, it's got a little edge here. It's not flat like paper thin. And when you leave that little white space, you're showing that that, you know, hat brim has some substance to it. And again, that's all these things make this little guy look three-dimensional, which is exactly what we're trying to do. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here now with my twin tone again. This is the brown, and I'm just going to add some details in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to add some red now to my palette. And you can use any red. This one happens to be 856. That's the one I grabbed. But, you know, all of the reds are fine. Any red. And any color is going to be fine that you use. And I'm just putting on a really light amount of red to start. You know, this area in the middle here, that's going to have a bit of a highlight. And then we're going to make another pass. So underneath, you know, underneath his scarf, this is going to be darker. And you know, every time you make a pass, you're going to get a darker color. And that's just how you build up the color. You just have to keep going over it and over it until it's as dark as you want it to be. And I think I'll take my fine tip now from my Tombow and just gonna put in some little stripes here. You know, try to follow the contour. If it's got a little bend in it, you know, if it's curved, make your lines curved. And we can add some little fringe on here. Just a little more detail. Okay, I think he looks pretty good. So let's go on to the little sleigh. And you know, if you've got red in your brush, you want to make sure you really, really clean that off, because that red just wants to hang on to your brush. Okay, so this guy is looking pretty good. We just want to get a little shadow under his hat. You know, it's one of those things that really, really makes a difference when you put that in there. And you know, we could add a little shadow under that little scarf too. Looks good. Okay, so let's go on to our little sleigh, and I'm going to take my tiny little brush, and we're just going to make some little details on here. Really light, so I'm going to take some of this blue, and I'm just going to make a little border here. Just kind of follow the lines. It doesn't have to be perfect. But you know, changing it up a little bit will change the look of it and make it more versatile. And then, you know, every time you use it, it'll look a little different. Okay, that looks good. And this side here is going to be more in the shadow, so I'm just gonna take some of this color and just pull this out. So this side is a little darker. And I'm going to take some of my green now, and just put some detail in here. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just the idea. But adding texture or adding patterns, you know, really changes things up and just adds a lot more interest in your composition. And I think it's easier too than trying to figure out what color to paint things. Sometimes, you know, if you make everything solid, it's hard to pick a color or know what to use if everything is solid. Now this side's going to have a little bend to it. So we're going to just change that up a little bit. And then I'm just going to now take some of this blue and just kind of come underneath here. So it looks like we've got a bit of a shadow. So it looks more like a lip. Okay. Let's just go a little darker under here. Show that edge a little bit more so that it looks more like a lip. And this little blade back here, this one's going to be darker. It's in the background, it's in the shadow. So we can color that in. Okay, looking cute. I'm just going to actually make this a little darker over here too. Just this edge. Okay, so let's move on. And let's put in our little wreath here. And we're just going to use part of this little image and just kind of put it in this vicinity. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, exactly right. It really doesn't. And I'm gonna just keep turning my paper. So I'm gonna kind of start, maybe I'll just start here and then just ink this and just kind of go around. You know, just keep turning your paper. It's much easier to do this than it is to try to turn your hand. And just kind of work our way around. And then once you got that stamped in, now you can just kind of hit it with water, just soften it up a little bit. Like so. And let's add some little berries to it. This is what makes it look Christmassy. You add these little berries in here. Just so cute. And you know, get them kind of in the white areas so they really pop out. And let's just, let's get his little arms in since we're kind of working in this area. And I'm gonna put this one kind of up high. And then this one down here. Okay, so let's move on now to our little pot that's going to go into the sleigh. I should just zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see a little better. Okay, and we're probably going to have to mask off a little bit of this sleigh, but let's check that out. Let's use a positioner and see where this little pot's going to land. And I'm just going to use the dark brown and the blue over the top. It doesn't really matter which which combination you use for in this case. And let's see, that's going to sit in there like that. I think I'm going to tip it a little bit. And maybe we just bring it over like this. Maybe like that. That looks pretty good. So I am going to have to, you can see here, it's going to stamp over the top of my sleigh. So I'm going to have to use some Post-it tape. This is the one I used previously. I reuse this stuff all the time, you guys. I have it stuck all over my table, all over my, all over my storage. I have it everywhere, and I just grab it all the time. Okay, that looks good right there. And you can just huff on it and it'll work great. Okay, and it looks like we missed a little bit of it here, so I'm just gonna put that back in with a pencil because that just does the trick. And now we can just pull some of this color out. Just drag this out a little bit. We're gonna have to use some Post-it tape before we put that tree in there too, but let's just put some decorative on here. You know me and my stripes. I just gotta have stripes on everything. I think they're so cute. You could just draw this on here with the fine tip too. So cute, love it. Okay, and I'm just gonna put a little more of a shadow kind of right in here. You know, again, we want that to have a contour, so to look rounded. Okay, so now let's get that little tree in. So I'm gonna use my little Post-it tape and cover this. You know, you always want to leave just a little bit of an edge so you can see where the edge of your little pot is. Otherwise, you're just kind of stamping blind. Okay, so we're gonna ink this up. I'm just gonna use this dark green, the 249. This is the one I've been using this whole time, and we don't need the whole thing. So we can just ink part of it. And that is where my little pot is. So I'm just gonna stamp this right in here, like so. And you can add as much, you know, of these fir boughs as you want. Maybe you want, you know, more like a little Charlie Brown tree, so you don't need as many of these fir boughs. But they're so cute and they just work great. Just kind of think about continuing the branch with these. That's really what you're doing. So you're stamping this outside of that branch. So about another halfway. And I'm not really inking the whole thing. I think that looks good. And you don't really have to add a lot of water to this. You know, mostly kind of where it's attached to the base. That's where it would be the darkest. And then you want to see these little pine needles. So I just leave that detail on here. This is a very clean image anyway, so there's not a lot of, you know, background halo effect. We're seeing a lot more detail. Okay, he's kind of shaping up here. So let's put the little lights in. And what I did was I wanted to kind of string these lights between his little arms and then just put a little bit into the tree. And I wanted to get a really good line. So I just grabbed things that are next to me. I don't know if you guys do that, but I just grab things that are the shape that I'm looking for. So I just grabbed this die. This is one of our double stitch dies. This is the circle, and it is 1 3/4 inch. Let's just make sure of that actually. But I am pretty sure it's an 1 3/4 inch cut circle. Yes, it is 1 3/4 inch, and it makes a really nice, you see that little arch here? So you can take your pencil and you could just follow that line. So this is what I do, you know, to make things simpler for me. And I'm not, you know, good at drawing straight lines or curved lines. So you see how that just kind of created this little line. And now we can take it and maybe we want to kind of bring it in over here too. And maybe we bring it to here, you know, into the tree, and then maybe we just, you know, hang it out here. You know, some little decorative, you know, thing. So you can see how much easier that is. You know, you don't have to worry about getting a straight line and then, you know, coloring over it. And you want a really nice thin line because this isn't our focus. And we don't want the cord, you know, the strand of the lights to be the focal point. Actually, that doesn't look good at all. So let's just go like that. So we don't want this to be super dark. We just want this to be really subtle. So let's just now add in our little lights. And we're gonna do that just with a tiny little brush, and first off, just by making little squares, you know, onto the cord. Just little squares like this. You can make as many as you want. You know, you can have as many lights on here as you want. And you really do need a tiny brush. You know, you could do this with a fine tip, but it would be much darker. So to kind of get this light, you know, really light pastel look, you kind of need to use a brush. And let's put one up. And maybe we do another one down. Really tiny. You know, these are not going to be big. And maybe just one more right here on the end. Okay, so now you can do your lights, and you can do them whatever color you want. Now in my sample, I just did them all red. Again, there you go with the simple colors. I love simple colors. So I just did all of mine red, but how cute would that be to mix it up and make them multicolored? So you could totally do that too. Now when you're doing the lights, it's really just a straight line underneath, just a straight line, and then a triangle. Just a straight line and then a little triangle. That's it. So straight line and then a little triangle. And if they're not perfectly even, it's okay. It's totally fine if they're not all exactly the same. People get the idea that these are little lights hanging on the tree. Here, and another one down here. These little details, they're so fun to put in. You know, it's when you're doing something like this and it's not stressful, because you know how to do it. You know how to stamp everything. You know how to pull color out of the lines. You know how to show a contour, how to make something look round. And when you understand all those rules, you know, it's just a different project. You're just putting another different composition together. And I think there's a lot of confidence in that. And it makes you want to try different projects. And I think, you know, what's stressful is trying to figure out what to put on a white piece of paper. I think that's very stressful. And, you know, if you know where to start, you've got a starting point. I think that takes the stress away, and then it's just fun. Okay, here we go. We are finished with that little thing. So let's just do a little work here on the bottom. And we are going to be done with this little guy. This was a really quick, easy project. So I'm just going to add a little color now to these little blades. You know, again, this isn't the focal point, so we don't have to do a lot here. And, you know, to make these look like they're coming up, we just want to put a little shadow here. And maybe just a little bit in here. We don't have to do a lot. It's such a simple little image. Okay, I think we are about finished. Now, if you would like to have this, be sure to say so in the comments if you are watching. I will be checking the comments and we will be picking a winner. So let me know if this needs to hang in your craft room. See if there's anything else we need to touch up. I think his little face is really cute. Can do just a little shadow under his scarf, and then we can make a little shadow where this little cord is. So fun. And I'm just going to make sure this is really dark under here. Okay, I think he is finished. And before he goes to his new home, I'm going to put some glitter on him. So he is ready to sparkle in your house. And of course, I'm going to sign and date because we cannot do a project without signing and dating. It cannot be done. I don't know, I'm gonna have to get used to writing 2022, you guys. It's coming really soon. I'm not ready for it. Okay, here's the fine tip. You know, we gotta go in here and just see if there's anywhere that we can really darken anything up. Including under here. This is just one of those places that we could really add some dark lines. Okay, I think he looks pretty good. There we go. We are finished with this project, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back again next week live, so I will get to see you and we'll be face to face again. Thanks so much for watching and happy Thanksgiving to you all.